The best thing to do, something that I look forward to every year, is to plan an international holiday or even a holiday. Let's talk about amazing destinations here in India. And if you are on one of the sites to book an air ticket, then you will see the option to add on an insurance. And there is travel insurance for you to consider, particularly when it comes to international trips. But you're thinking, why should I shell out that additional amount of money? Do I really need it? Well, let's talk about what it covers first and how much it costs and why it actually might be worth your while. Joining me is Animesh Das, who's the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of ACKO. Animesh, thanks so much for taking the time. The first question I think a lot of people ask is, do I really need this and what does it cover? So let's answer that question. What is a travel insurance meant to cover?
Yeah, so thanks for having me over here. I think the way you plan your own travel, where you try and cover as many sightseeing, as many activities, to protect those activities, right? Travel insurance comes out to be like a financial seatbelt, right? When you're traveling. And that's where travel insurance covers things like any emergency medical expenses you end up incurring. And obviously, as you know, the medical expenses in certain countries are very high, right? And effectively, if you end up getting into any kind of medical situation, that can take as much as your travel budget itself, right? So medical emergencies, any kind of trip delay, flight cancellation, baggage loss, any valuable loss, all these things are covered in travel insurance. So yes, I think it's not optional anymore. I think it's a necessity. Like you make sure that your travel plan is well stitched up. This becomes a critical part of your travel planning altogether.
It's something to put on your checklist. I just want to ask, there is in other policies, and I'm talking about health, for example, or talking about a motor insurance policy, Animesh, there is a base policy and there are add-ons that you can put on that. So is there something similar in travel insurance?
100%. So obviously you can start with very basic, like if I have to count 2-3 things which everyone should have if they're doing a very regular travel. One is your medical expenses should be covered, your baggage delay or baggage loss is covered, your trip cancellation or flight cancellation are covered. These are standard. But other than that, there are a lot of add-ons which you should consider depending on how you're traveling. If you're traveling with senior citizen, there are products which are available. If you're doing adventure sport or some kind of sports activities, then you should try and cover those things also, which are not usually offered in the standard coverages. So yes, there are add-ons which, depending on what plans you have around your travel, you should try and include those in your travel insurance as well.
Okay. And how much are we talking about? Because generally it's not a large amount of money that you have to shell out. Does it change from country to country? Is there a reason for an insurance company to have a higher cost that they levy for, say, the United States and Japan as compared to a Southeast Asian country?
Yes, I think the travel insurance premium or the cost will depend on which country are you traveling, what is your tenure of travel. A lot of those factors are there. But I must say, as a consumer also, the travel insurance is one of the most value for money product, right? If you're planning per person, if you're planning any international trip, even domestic trip for that matter, you can end up incurring almost $1 lakh, 2 lakh per person sort of budget, right? And travel insurance with most of the good coverages comes in range of what? Maybe $1,000 for that kind of travel. So that is less than even like 0.5%, less than 0.1% of your travel budget altogether. The most value for money product, which I'll recommend any person. And just like a simple thing, if you'll go out and even a very basic incident that can happen in, let's say, a US or a Japan kind of example you gave, that can shell out easily $1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees of your medical expenses out there, right? And you are just incurring not more than 1,000 rupees to cover that kind of scenario, right? So it's 100% worth the money. It's not just worth the money. I think the peace of mind also, it's very important. Most of the travel insurance provider or insurance company integrate or work with those medical provider out there to make things easy for you. So it's a peace of mind as well at the same time. So all these capabilities or any medical attention you need, they tie up with a lot of these medical providers. So make things very easy for you as well, right? So it's very tough for you to figure out in a foreign land to arrange for these stuff, even getting back here as quickly as possible. All of those things get solved under travel insurance. So I think given the amount which you'll incur for that, it's 100% worth the money.
Okay. I'm wondering about delays and cancellation, and particularly delays, right? Because in domestic travel as well, I've personally experienced delays. It's quite common. What kind of policies can cover that? And is there an amount that is guaranteed? What is the compensation that is generally provided?
So obviously the coverages are different depending on different products and different insurance setups, but typically delays can happen for 2-3 reasons. There can be catastrophic situation or natural calamities sort of delays and all. In that case, you are covered. Most of the products cover those kind of scenario, which is not in your control, not in the control of the flight carrier or so. So those are covered. This again depends on what kind of plan you are taking, which kind of product you are taking, but that can be the delays specifically because it's not an absolute loss. Usually it's an inconvenience. So the coverages will not be very high. It can be in range of, let's say, even starting from a 5,000 rupees compensation just for your convenience to even a larger compensation depending on how much the delay is or the cancellation is, right? So it depends, but yeah, the delay as a scenario is covered. One more thing which I'll highlight is at least we are doing it, that we integrate with few of the travel aggregators or rather a travel vendors where we make things very easy for the customer to even claim. So we know that you need not to fill up the paperwork to establish delay because it's well established. And when you integrate with these travel vendors, the process becomes very easy for you to claim, right? So you should see who is giving these ease of claim or ease of establishing there are delays. But yeah, these are the common scenarios, and we are aware, like with the kind of climate conditions out there and the kind of operations we see day to day and the increase in terms of just sheer volume of travel. This becomes a necessity. You usually, when you plan your travel, you have one flight, then there's a catching flight, all of those things. So your travel plans can disrupt a lot if in case there is a delay altogether.
Is that defined, Animesh, the delays by a few hours or something like that? Is that how it works?
Yeah, usually most of the travel plan define it very well, whether the delay is like it starts from even a 1 hour to 2 hour delay as well. There are products which covers even a 2 hour delay. Or the products which covers even a larger delay as well, or the cancellation for that matter, which is indefinite delay in some sense. So these are well established. And like I said, for your travel, be it domestic or international, you should establish what kind of product you are buying. But yeah, this is a pretty standard coverage. Any trip delay sort of scenario is out there in most of the travel insurance product. You should just see as per your need, you should go ahead and purchase.
Okay. Now, a specific question on claims, right? And whether or not there can be a situation where claim is denied. My assumption is that in a lot of these situations, it's not cashless. It has to be claimed as a refund, right? And so the onus to prove that something has happened is on the person that's buying the insurance. This is my understanding, Animesh. What are the scenarios in which a claim can be rejected? Either if it is a delay or a cancellation, or if it is a medical scenario, is there a reason why it can be denied?
No, I think like most of the scenarios are covered. One of the scenario where the claim will not be covered is any pre-existing situation. In there also there are partial products or certain coverages are there, but pre-existing situations is something which is usually not covered. I'm just taking an example. If I'm suffering with something already, and then I'm traveling and something like that gets triggered in the during the travel, then those kind of scenarios are by default excluded. That's one situation. Apart from that, we discussed about few of the add-ons, like if you are doing any adventure sport and you haven't taken add-on for that coverage or for that kind of situation, those are the things which will get excluded or not covered. I would always recommend to buy these additional coverages if you have already planned for those kind of travel. In addition to that, one more scenario is there are certain riskier zones or riskier countries where you're traveling, which is not advisable. Those are also usually not covered under travel insurance, but you should go through it, the plan which you're buying, whether your provider is offering coverages in those countries or geographical zones. So these are few situations which are not covered, but one of the typical one is if there's a pre-existing situation, a pre-existing illness condition, those are not covered in travel insurance.
You know, I think we've covered quite a bit of ground, and Animesh, it's a strong case that you've made to put this in your checklist and things to do before you travel. Thanks so much for joining in.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Your Money Matters. Thanks so much for tuning in, and do stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.